All right, welcome to the My Heart Bleeds Violet director's cut, director's commentary. Am I the director? I'm the author. I think, largely speaking, for most of my other fics, I would be the director and the author, but I think actually, Keitra, you are the director of this. So, author's commentary. I do have music in the background, but I've tested it already and it's very quiet, and the fic will be read aloud over it. So you should be able to hear the thing. Should I have the fic up while I'm reading it? Because the text-to-speech is going to be playing. So you'll hear it, but I don't know if you want to visually follow along. Or I could just leave up the picture, the group photo. I think I will leave up the group photo, but I am going to turn down the music a little more just to make sure. Oh, there we go. Okay, to make sure that the text-to-speech is heard over it. The text-to-speech might be a little loud. Thankfully, it won't be. I won't be talking at the same time as the thing's reading the chapter out loud, so it's fine. I guess we'll just get started then. I'll be reading along so I can visually see the words and know when to stop something, but I guess you will get to look at this lovely image that Mallow drew. Okay. So with all that out of the way, let's do this.
My Heart Bleeds Violet. Chapter 1. Come on, everyone, let's tear into each other. When Karamatsu opened his eyes, he found that he was far closer to the ground than he anticipated being. That is, he was laying down on the ground. He could feel his cheek pressing into a cold, smooth floor. It was less than comfortable. There was an ache in his back, implying that he'd been on the ground for at least a little while. A displeased hum escaped his throat as he pushed himself up to a seated position.
Now, obviously, we don't know this right now, but the Karamatsu that we are following at the very start of the story is Kei. I'm trying to think why. So I started with Kei for a reason. The first reason being that he is named Karamatsu, because not all of them are named Karamatsu in the world that they're from. Sorry, I'm also eating dinner. I think honestly part of what made me start with Kei is the fact that he is dead center on the cover, which you are looking at right now. Or on an actual book, he's on the spine of the book, but on the cover image, he's dead center. So I think that might also be why I started with him, was because he's named Karamatsu and because he's dead center. He's also one of the survivors. I did want to start the narrative following one of the survivors. I don't know why I did particularly. I don't know if it really matters all that much, because we only follow Kei for a few minutes before it breaks more into the general perspective. But yes, Kei being the one that we follow first was a deliberate choice.
Then, he looked around to get a feel for his surroundings. What he saw would raise infinitely more questions than it would answer. He appeared to be in a gym of some sort, but that information quickly moved to the back of his mind as he noticed something much more pertinent. What seemed to be a much more pressing matter was the fact that he was surrounded by numerous other people, all of which appeared to be experiencing varying levels of confusion. As if that weren't strange enough, all of the people he could see shared his likeness. They didn't merely look a little similar to him, they looked as though they were nearly carbon copies of him. Each of them wore a different sort of attire, some more outlandish than others, but they all had fundamentally the same face that he did. He felt as though he were in a funhouse, looking at his reflection a dozen times over. Karamatsu couldn't make sense of what was happening. He wondered if he was dreaming. If he were, it was a bizarre dream even by his standards. What the hell? Karamatsu counted the heads in the room and found that there were 14 people aside from him. The more he analyzed his lookalikes.
First indication that this is Kei is that he says, "What the hell?" Doesn't say what the fuck, but he does say a curse. Granted, it's the most tame curse, but, so. Yeah, just wanted to point that out.
The more baffled he became. Some of them didn't even appear to be human upon further inspection. One of them was floating above the ground, crossing his legs as though he were sitting in an invisible chair. Another possessed blue and white horns. Yeah, this must be a dream. It can't be a dream. I don't sleep. One of the others spoke up. He was dressed in an ornate, Victorian fashion. When he opened his mouth, Karamatsu could see a pair of razor-sharp fangs peeking out. Karamatsu was alarmed to find that even his voice was similar to his own. The fanged man spoke with a slightly different intonation, but it was his voice regardless.
I should have pointed out here that Karamatsu speaks with an accent. It's never relevant. It never matters that he speaks with an accent. I just wish I'd mentioned it. I say that he speaks with a slightly different intonation, but that's not really true. He speaks with like a vaguely European accent. I don't know why I didn't mention that. I don't know if it gets mentioned in My Heart Bleeds Violet. It is mentioned in Blue on Blue, and it is mentioned in House of Blue. But here I just say different intonation, but I wish I had said, like, that he speaks with an accent. I would change that if I ever like, went back and like changed significant things.
Well, do you have a better explanation for what's going on, then? A lookalike wearing a blue striped blazer spoke in an irritated tone. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm staring at a bunch of carbon copies of myself. I'd wager that you're a copy of me, not vice versa. The floating man remarked with an amused lilt to his voice. Is that really what matters right now? One of two female-presenting members of the group shook her head. Both her and the other feminine iteration possessed blue hair, but hers was fashioned into a long ponytail that split at the end. I think figuring out why there's a dozen of me is pretty damn important. The blazer-clad man placed his hands on his hips.
I don't know for this for sure, but I feel like the phrase "is this what really matters right now," or "is this really what matters right now," is something that Karami has said more than once, which would indicate that she's the one speaking here. But we haven't been introduced to her yet, so we don't know that yet. But if you're rereading, that is Karami. I think she has said something similar to that before.
There's actually 15 of us in total, not a dozen. I did a head count the moment that I came to. A man in a blue suit announced emphatically in a loud voice. Again, is that really what matters? The girl with the ponytail surveyed her surroundings. There's clearly something weird going on. We need to start figuring things out immediately. No shit, what else were we going to do? Just sit here? A man with red hair scoffed, rolling his eyes. When he shifted his weight, his thick jewelry clinked together. Karamatsu noticed that he was a contender for the one of them with the most eccentric attire. Between the blue, fur-lined coat, the gold and purple shorts, and excess of necklaces, rings, and bracelets, Karamatsu found the man's outfit to be an assault to the senses.
You know your outfit is bad when Kay is like, "That's too much, dude." That's how you know it's bad. Because even Kay's like, "Whoa!"
Before the group could discuss things further, they collectively heard the sound of someone clearing their throat in a noisy manner. The 15 of them looked around, trying to find the source of the sound. It was at that point that they noticed a strange creature sitting on the stage taking up the front of the gym. It looked like some sort of plush toy meant to look like a cat. The left side was pure white while the right half was pitch black. It wore red glasses, magnifying the one black and one red eye it possessed. When did that get there? The girl with the ponytail furrowed her brow and pointed at the creature. So, you're all awake. The creature's mouth moved and a tinny, high-pitched voice came out. That thing talks? God, it sounds insufferable. The man in the striped blazer winced when he heard its voice. That's pretty rude of you to say, you know. The cat broke into a playful smirk as it surveyed the people in the room.
Wait, let's backpedal just a second. That thing talks, God, it sounds insufferable. The man in the striped blazer, which we know to be Klaus, winced when he heard its voice, which is like the first clue that like, oh, he has sensitive hearing. I don't think anyone caught that. I don't know if you ever pointed that out. But yes, he specifically, I used the word winced there, that he winced when he heard its voice, because like the high-pitched voice is very irritating to his sensitive hearing.
And here I was, about to give you an explanation as to what's going on. I'll take an explanation if you're offering one. The horned gentleman looked at the cat expectantly. For starters, who are you and what are we doing here? Who am I? Ah, yes, you do need to call me something, don't you? It'd be weird for me to not have a name. Maybe I should have thought about this before starting things. The cat, being surprisingly expressive for a plush toy, appeared to be considering something. How about Mononoko? That seems straightforward enough, doesn't it? What with me being a monogram cat and all. You didn't have to explain it. I think we could all figure it out. Karamatsu murmured. Okay then, Mononoko, why are we here? The gentleman with the fangs asked politely. I'll get to that, don't worry. First, though, I think some introductions are in order. We ought to get to know each other a little bit before we proceed, don't you think so? Mononoko looked out into the sea of faces while he stayed perched on the stage. Why don't we go around the room and share a bit about ourselves? Names, occupations, things like that. Oh, I just thought of an issue. I can think of several issues. A man with a gold chain necklace muttered. For starters, we all have the same face. Mind explaining what the hell that's about? I'll get to that. First things first, the issue I was talking about. Mononoko disregarded the man's question entirely. It was debatable if he had any intention of returning to it later. Raise your hand if your name is Karamatsu Matsuno. Karamatsu raised his hand without hesitation. To his surprise, 4 other individuals did the same. See? That's
Really,
a bit of a problem.
Do only 5 of them have the name Karamatsu? Do only 5 of them have the name Karamatsu? Oh, hold on, I need to silence my messages. I don't want to get notifications right now. Sorry, I will check them later. Okay. Anyways, are there really only 4 or 5 total, including K? I guess so. Yeah, we did try to avoid having too many named Karamatsu, just because then we would have had to come up with more nicknames on our own instead of like going with, I guess, the canon names ascribed to the different AUs. I can't remember if that was something we like actively considered when we were determining who we were going to include in the killing game. I think I did have a preference for characters that weren't named Karamatsu, because again, I didn't want to come up with a bunch of nicknames that weren't canon. I'm the type of person that generally likes to stick to what's canon, in terms of like names, characterization, things like that. But I end up throwing that out the window eventually. That philosophy I have long since abandoned in these kinds of fics.
We need a way to tell you all apart. Mononoko appeared to be in thought for a moment. For the sake of simplicity, I'll assign you each a nickname. Sound good? I'm even more confused than I was a minute ago. A Karamatsu wearing an apron furrowed his brow. That's why you all need nicknames. Let's see. You, with the guitar on your back. Mononoko pointed to Karamatsu. Me? Karamatsu looked around and saw that nobody else was carrying a guitar. Yes, you. You can be K, as in visual K. Makes sense, right? Mononoko assigned him his new name. Take care and remember your new name, because that's what we're all going to call you from now on in order to differentiate you from the other Karamatsus. I guess you could have picked a worse name. K pursed his lips. That's the spirit, K. Mononoko's tail flicked back and forth while he spoke. Next up, you, in the blue suit. You're a lawyer, aren't you?
I think it's funny that like all the nicknames we did come up with are the most like baseline, like this is just what you are. Your name is Horitsuka-san because it means lawyer and you're a lawyer. But I mean, in the context of the universe, Mononoko's just trying to like come up with something to call them for the time being. I think it's debatable that Mononoko put any thought into their nicknames beforehand. I wouldn't be surprised if he was coming up with them on the spot. It'd also be funny though if he like did actually try to think about it and just couldn't come up with anything. So he's like, I'm just gonna call you what you are. Fuck it. So I don't think anyone got a creative nickname. Cause K, because he's visual K. Mafia, take your best guess. Hanai-san, Flowers. Horitsuka-san, lawyer. Is anyone else with a nickname? I guess we'll get to the nickname. We'll see if there's any nicknames that are actually creative. I think all of them are like pretty baseline, just like based on appearances though, because I would say it's more than likely that Mononoko is coming up with these on the spot. He did not think ahead of time.
The very best in my profession, I'll have you know. The suit-clad Karamatsu informed him, beaming with pride. I'm sure you are. Regardless, you're Horitsuka-san, so don't forget your new name. Mononoko scanned the room, honing in on the Karamatsu wearing the apron. And you can be Hanaya-san. That's a little on the nose, don't you think so? Hanaya-san murmured. Simple is best. Occam's razor, you know? Mononoko shrugged. That's not how Occam's razor works.
You know what? I don't know if Hanaya-san, Horitsuka-san. Okay, never mind. Horitsuka-san says this. For a second, I thought Hanaya-san said this, and I was like, would Hanaya-san know what Occam's razor is? Which, if you don't know, Occam's razor is the most likely explanation for something is the most simple and like logical one. It's basically like don't overthink it.
Horitsuka-san pointed out. Semantics. Mononoko dismissed Horitsuka-san's remark. He then gestured toward a man with a cape and eye patch. You phantom thief. Your name can be Blue. Nef's Flash, asshole. We're all blue. K rolled his eyes. That just leaves you, with the gold necklace.
I don't know. I think. Okay, no. So Blue's name is Blue because in the actual Hisakuri Wars, I believe the Phantom Thief code names are just the colors. Like that's their code name. Um. um is the colors, but also I just wanted to make that joke. The newsflash, asshole, we're all blue. I sent that joke to Katra before I started. I don't know if I'm posting this on YouTube or not, so I'm like sometimes addressing Katra directly and sometimes talking about them in third person. We'll see. Anyway, um, but also this was I sent this little snippet to them before I started writing the fic. The newsflash, asshole, we're all blue, and they were like, "Yeah, you got to put that in." I like it. I think it's funny. Um, so yeah, just that joke.
Mononico ignored Kay's comment entirely. You're Mafia. Now you're just being lazy. Mafia complained. I'm efficient, that's all. And now we'll be able to tell all of you apart. Mononico looked satisfied with himself. Now, about those introductions. Let's go around the room and tell everyone a bit about ourselves. I'll even go first to get the ball rolling, and once we get a little bit acquainted I'll give you plenty of answers about what's going on, okay? Anyway, my name is Mononico, my occupation is being a cat, and I'm the one who's gathered you all here. When Mononico was done speaking, he gestured toward Kay, as he was the closest one to the stage and thus expected to go next. We're really doing this? Kay looked around and saw that nobody was actively objecting, though several of the members of the group looked as though they wanted to. For the time being, it seemed like everyone was going to play along in the hopes of getting some much-needed answers. Okay, well, apparently my name is now Kay, which I guess is fine. I'm a musician in a rock band with my 5 friends. I play the guitar.
Um, Looking back on this, no, I think it's accurate because he says I'm a musician in a rock band. I think that's accurate enough to say. I don't know if he would have actually. It would have been better for him to say I'm in a visual K band, but I think that kind of like went without saying because his name is K. So I think he just said rock band because they do play like rock music. EP. Um, just woke up a couple hours ago. Yeah, that's probably fine. He says rock band. And then now we get the character art. You can't see it. I mean, actually, you can see it. You're looking at the full photo. So you know, K being front and center. Um, okay.
One by one, they went around the room and gave brief bits of information about themselves. This certainly isn't the sort of circumstance I usually meet people under, but I suppose it can't be helped. The woman with the shorter blue hair adjusted her fur shawl so that
Okay. Um, oh, just side note, we are going counterclockwise, so which you would know because you've read this fic. Um, Probably if you're listening to this. Again, I don't know if I'm putting this on YouTube or not. Anyways, so we're going counterclockwise, so you would be able to assume Monroe is next.
it rested comfortably over her shoulders. You can call me Monroe Lamio. I'm Akatsuki's premier drag queen, and I light up any stage I've ever graced with my stunning presence. My name is Karami. The girl with the ponytail introduced herself next. She wore a frilly blue and white outfit with a skirt and a shirt adorned with a massive bow. I'm a magical girl, and I use my shield to protect others. I'll help us figure out exactly what's going on, I promise. It looks like I'll be operating under the codename Blue for the foreseeable future. The man dressed in the eye patch, black striped suit, and glittering blue cape spoke next, tipping his large top hat to acknowledge those around him. I am the most skilled phantom thief you'll ever have the pleasure of knowing. I'll be gone before you're even aware of my presence. There's no treasure I can't steal. My full name is Karameshiu Matsanov, but just Karameshiu will suffice. The faint man ran his fingers through his hair in a relaxed manner. I don't really have an occupation, to be honest. Does being a vampire count as an occupation? If so, my occupation is being a vampire.
All these introductions are really rapid fire. I did consider having like the group kind of like react to each person's introduction, but one, I thought that would make the chapter too long. And also I'd have to keep using like a bunch of epithets because a lot of characters haven't been introduced yet, so I can't use their names. And it would just been a bit too messy. And I also just felt like it would have. It's not that it wouldn't have added anything. It would have added characterization, especially in the first chapter, so that could have been good. But I also feel like just given the circumstances, everyone's feeling a little too awkward to like banter with each other like they would later in the fic or in fics like House of Blue or Blue on Blue. They're not really bantering because they just woke up here and they don't know these people and they're confused. So right now they're not really commenting or like reacting to each other very much because they're just like trying to kind of like mentally figure out, okay, who are these people, and then we'll go from there.
You're joking, right? Kay couldn't tell how serious Karameshiu was being. Vampires aren't actually real, right? If you'd like me to, I can prove it. That might be a little bit painful for you, though. Karameshiu chuckled softly. I wouldn't mind, though. I am feeling a little peckish. No, I'm good, thanks.
I don't know if I knew at this point in the story that Kay would ultimately offer himself for Karamatu to drink from after Hoitsugu died. To feed off of. If it was intentional foreshadowing. If it wasn't, then good on me. That ended up working out. Like, Kay was the one who specifically had that interaction with Karamatu, given that he does change his mind and later let Karamatu feed off of him. So that's fun.
Kay quickly shook his head. At any rate, I hope we all get along. Karameshiu then gestured toward the person next to him, prompting them to introduce themselves. Good morning, or is it afternoon? It might even be evening, actually. That's irrelevant, though. What you really need to know is that I'm Captain Phonic Angel, the Roaring Fallen Angel. A man in a glittering blue jumpsuit outfitted with speakers announced his presence in a dramatic tone. If you must shorten my name for the sake of convenience, I accept the nickname Captain, but I vastly prefer being referred to by my full title. I am one of the fierce defenders of the Akatsuki Ward, and there is no criminal on the planet who can escape my fists of justice. We'll see about that. The red-haired man had a sinister grin. The next person to introduce themselves was someone who had largely gone unnoticed by the group due to his short status. Standing at a fraction of the height of everyone else, there was a strange sort of cat person. He wore a white dress decorated in blue flowers. What was more noticeable than that, though, was the fact that he possessed the ears, paws, and tail of a cat. The hood of his shawl was pulled up, showing only the outline of his pointed ears. He looked so terrified that he seemed ready to faint at a moment's notice. My name is Teru Kara. I don't know what's going on or why we're here. My occupation. I'm a rain doll. I make rain go away. Teru Kara seemed to be a man of few words, not offering up much more information about himself than his brief introduction.
That's always going to confuse me. Like, what do you mean your occupation is rain doll? Can you elaborate on that? That's not a real job. Not a real job. In his universe it is, but like the people I guess he wouldn't know that the people he's talking to would be like, what do you mean? I just find that phrasing funny. Like, my occupation, I'm a rain doll. Everyone else is like, huh? And to him it makes perfect sense. But what does he mean by that? In his world, in his universe, in Teru Kara's universe, how does he perform his job? What does he do? Also, the rain doll thing, never addressed in any other fic. Never. Never comes up in Blue Blue. Probably not even a thing in House of Blue. Just isn't a thing. I should do something with House of Blue where Teru has some interaction with the rain. Because that was a piece of his character that got lost in future installments. But here it's relevant. Here it's very relevant. Extremely relevant. Anyways, I still think that's funny. Like, what do you mean occupation is rain doll? Can you explain? He won't explain. Okay.
Are you quite done? I doubt most of them could even hear you. The man in the striped blazer looked down at Teru Kara for a moment, then moved on with his own sort of abrasive greeting. My name is Klaus Matz. Those who are well acquainted with me can call me chauffeur. None of you are well acquainted with me. All you need to know about me is that I possess more wealth than any of you will see in 100 lifetimes. As soon as I get some answers, I'll be taking my leave. I have more important matters to attend to.
Great introduction. I don't know why, I really love those who are well acquainted with me can call me chauffeur. None of you are well acquainted with me. I really love that, and I think that's something that, like, just very specifically he would say. I don't know. There's something about those two sentences, I find very funny. I can't even tell if he's trying to be funny or if he's just like, he's just being himself. God bless.
Well, aren't you a ray of goddamn sunshine? The red-haired man laughed. Oh, is it my turn? It's about damn time. I was getting sick of listening to you all go off. If you're going to call me something, it better be Mr. Shocking. Some people call me Smilax Owl, but I'll put you 6 feet under if you even try it. Got it?
Oh, but he does it too. That's so funny that both of them do that. They do it in different ways. The way they word it is different. I think there's more humor in Klaus's in those who are well acquainted with me call me chauffeur. None of you are well acquainted with me. There's something very comedic about that. Whereas Shocking's just like threatening you. He's just like telling you his real name and being like, but don't call me it or I'll beat the shit out of you. So I think Klaus is funnier.
Then why'd you tell us that name in the first place? Karameshiu asked curiously.
Exactly.
I figured it was worth mentioning since it's such a cool name, you know? Mr. Shocking had a vain sort of grin as he talked. Anyway, I'll bet my whole fortune that I'm richer than the pretty boy over there. The hell was your name? Claus? Whatever, doesn't matter. Point is that I'm richer than Sin, and the only thing to rival the numbers in my bank account is my body count. Some people might call me a villain, and they're damn right. The horned man standing next to Mr. Shocking gave an exasperated sigh before introducing himself. You can refer to me as Aoanden if you must. I don't really have an occupation, frankly. I'm an ancient Oni built off of the fears of man. Make of that what you will, I don't care. I'd simply like to go home. Ao informed the group, his tone flat and disinterested. An Oni, HM? I'm almost intrigued. Almost. The floating man mused. He wore a sparkling blue tailcoat, tall leather boots, and a gold crown. More noticeably than that, he possessed long blue antennae and a pair of black and blue bat-like wings. The lot of you might have heard of me. Does the name Beelzebub ring a bell? As in, the demon prince and lord of the flies? That would be me. My occupation would be a prince of hell, obviously. As for any sort of trivia about myself, well, wouldn't you like to know? No, I wouldn't. Ao shook his head. Your loss. Beelzebub shrugged, not seeming terribly bothered by Ao's snide remark. So, then, who's up next? You, in the apron? We can probably skip over you. You don't look all that important. We're not skipping over anyone. Karami protested. He's probably more pleasant than you, I'm sure. Whatever. Speak, mortal. Beelzebub gestured toward Hanaya-san. I'm Hanaya-san, according to Mononiko. The nickname Mononiko gave me is pretty spot on since I'm a florist. I'm really confused right now. Really confused. I hope we'll get some answers soon. Hanaya-san pursed his lips. He looked around, waiting for the next person to take the floor and introduce themselves. At least for the time being, I'll be going by Mafia. I'm exactly what the name says on the tin. I'm a member of the Mafia. It's as simple as that. If there's anything else you need to know about me, I'll let you know when it's relevant. Mafia was curt and to the point, not offering much information up about himself. Next. My turn? A skittish-looking boy in glasses looked around, seeing that he was indeed the next one to introduce themselves. He was one of the more plain-looking members of the group, with a blue plaid shirt and jeans. His only other defining characteristic was a pair of headphones around his neck. My name is Carla Pinfield. I don't have a job. I'm a high school student. I want to go home if that's possible. All eyes fell to Haratsuka-san, who was the only one yet to introduce themselves. When he realized it was his turn, he puffed out his chest and started talking. As you all can likely recall, Mononiko has bestowed upon me a new name. Although I vastly prefer my given name, one's name does not determine their destiny. It is but a title to carry us from one destination to another, is it not? And on this journey we have all embarked on, I have taken upon a new name so that I may bloom anew and carry myself to my next destination. That new name, of course, is Haratsuka-san, an homage to my most honorable profession as a heart-throbbing, awe-inspiring defense lawyer of the Akatsuka Ward. Haratsuka-san loudly rambled, a crazed look in his eyes as he spoke with a deranged passion. Should the occasion arise, I will step forward like a shooting star streaking through the summer night sky and guide us all toward the path of justice. Merely call for me and I will offer my services up for the sake of all that is right in this guilty world. The rest of the group was in a state of collective shock, not knowing how to respond to Haratsuka-san. This bastard makes me look normal, Mr. Shocking remarked. That's everyone, isn't it? Mononiko looked around the room. Yes, I believe everyone has at least given an introduction of some sort. Now you owe us some answers. Mafia's eyes narrowed. Right. It's only fair that I explain what you're all doing here. Mononiko nodded. I'm a cat of my word, after all. So, where do I begin? Well, for starters, it goes without saying that you're all the same guy. Some of you have different names, but you're all fundamentally a deviation of one person, Karamatsu Matsuno. Rather, you're all Karamatsu Matsuno, but each of you hails from a different place in space and time. Different universes.
I think this is interesting because even from chapter 1 we're establishing the original. We don't know who the original is. I think they ask who the original is maybe in this chapter, maybe later. But they establish, he does say outright, like, you're Karamatsu, implying that the real original one is named Karamatsu as well. Which we know that because we've watched Osamatsu-san and we know the canon character's name is Karamatsu. But you know, I don't know, I just thought it was worth pointing out.
That doesn't make sense. Monroe raised a brow. No, it makes sense. It's just far-fetched. Kalaus eyed his counterparts closely. Given that I'm looking at 14 identical faces staring back at me, though, I'm inclined to believe what the cat is saying. Good, things will be a lot easier if I don't have to convince you of the truth. Mononiko seemed pleased with this. So, as I was saying, you're all basically Karamatsu Matsuno in some way, shape, or form. That is one constant between all 15 of you. There is one other constant among you. That being? Karami waited for Mononiko to elaborate. All of you are romantically involved with an iteration of someone named Ichimatsu. He may have a different name for some of you. Ichimeishiu, Itador, Mr. Deep, Ichi, Nikokage, call him what you want, he's Ichimatsu. Monanako explained. Are you all following along? What does it matter who I'm dating? I don't see how that pertains to the current situation. Karameishiu cocked his head to the side. I assure you, it does pertain to the situation. It's actually pretty relevant, since I'm holding all of them hostage. Monanako revealed the first of many bombshells. He watched the reactions of everyone in the room, seeing expressions ranging from shock to disbelief to annoyance. I don't believe that for a second. Leviathan couldn't possibly be detained by the likes of you. Beelzebub scoffed. If this is meant to be your idea of a joke, it's a pretty pathetic one. Oh, you don't believe me? Monanako grinned. A screen behind him began to descend from the ceiling. Suddenly, the lights dimmed slightly and footage was projected on the screen. The screen was split into 15 different video feeds. Each of them showed an iteration of Ichimatsu corresponding to the versions of Karamatsu present in the gym. Each Ichimatsu was visibly restrained in a small, plain room. Some of them appeared to be passed out, while others were actively struggling. There was no audio provided with a video feed, leaving it a mystery as to what any of them were trying to say, if anything. Collectively, everyone's eyes widened. What the fuck? This can't be real. How could you have possibly pulled one over on Mr. Deep? He'd never let anyone get the jump on him, not even me. Mr. Shocking placed his hands on his hips. That bastard must be weaker than I thought. Doesn't matter how I got them. Point is, I got them all. Monanako cut the video feed. The screen disappeared a moment later, ascending back up into the ceiling. What are you going to do with them? Karami demanded to know, her fists clenched. Well, that depends on what all of you do. As it stands, they're all staying put indefinitely. Coincidentally, that's what's happening with all of you. The 15 of you will be staying in this school until further notice. You're not allowed to leave. You're welcome to try, if you want, but it won't do much good.
That's confusing. He says you're not allowed to leave, but you're welcome to try. Well, so the thing is, he says they're welcome to try, but they will get punished if they go outside, theoretically. I think he says this because he's like, they can try all they want and they won't get out anyways. Yeah, I think that's part of it for Mononeko, is that he encourages them to try to get out because he's so confident that they won't be able to. But he also like doesn't want them discovering all the mysteries of the school like right away. So he does like forbid them from going outside, but he thinks it'd be funny if they try. I don't know if funny's the right word, because like Mastermind's not enjoying this per se. He's just like putting on a persona right now. But you know, he went to all this effort of setting this up, so he is seeing it through. So he's not enjoying it, but you know, like he's doing his thing.
Monanako informed them. You're holding us captive here? Why? This doesn't make sense. Captain was aghast at the news of their situation. And what makes you so confident that we won't be able to break out of here? The why of it doesn't really matter. All you need to know is that you're not allowed to leave. Like I said, you can try and leave if you really want to, but it won't work. Monanako reiterated his previous statement. Maybe you mortals are stuck here, but I've got better places to be. I'm going to find Leviathan and get the hell out of here. I can simply teleport out of here. Beelzebub had a smug expression as he snapped his fingers. After a moment, though, nothing happened. Beelzebub furrowed his brow, then snapped again. Still, he remained floating in the air. He tried snapping one more time to no avail. Well, what's wrong? Weren't you just saying that you were leaving? Kalaus said, looking the slightest bit amused. Or can you not do that here? I am having some difficulty teleporting at the moment. Beelzebub's eyes narrowed. He looked at Ao. You. Try to leave. I've been trying from the moment I woke up. Ao told him. I simply didn't feel the need to announce it like you did. That aside, I can't teleport out of here. There's something strange about this place that's preventing me from leaving. Well, fuck. Beelzebub muttered. He turned his attention toward Monanako. All right, you've got us all here, then. Now what? What do you expect us to do? I'm not loitering around here with a gaggle of mortals for God knows how long. I have far better things to be doing. If you want to leave, there is a way out. Monanako said, his grin twisting into something far more sinister. There was a mischievous glint in his red eye, as though he were deriving great joy from the group's confusion and frustration. What's the way out? Carla asked nervously.
I was just touching on this. Mononeko's like grinning and like being a little shit. I don't think the Mastermind's actually like having a good time here. I think he's just putting on like he's just like playing a role. He doesn't want them to figure out that he's Ichimatsu. And so he's very deliberate in like, I'm just gonna act like an asshole and act like I don't care, because then they'll never suspect who I am. Uh, which we do see Mononeko become more apathetic towards the end, as like Ichimatsu's like sick of keeping up the act, like he can't just keep acting like that. And so towards the tail end, he does become apathetic and just drops the act.
What do you want from us? It's easy, really. You just have to do one simple thing, and then you and your Ichimatsu are free to go. All you have to do is kill one of the other people in this room, myself excluded. Mononoko dropped the next bombshell for the group to come to terms with. You're joking. Kurami gasped. Her and the rest of the room were once again put into a state of shock upon being given the news. Nope, no jokes. I'm being as straightforward as I can possibly be. If you want to leave, you've got to kill. As long as you do that, you can leave with your Ichimatsu and do whatever you want. Easy, right? Mononoko sneered, amused at seeing the reactions of the people before him. Like hell it is. What's the catch? There's got to be a catch. Kalaus didn't trust Mononoko at face value, thinking there had to be more to what he was saying. There's no catch. Well, there are a few details that I should mention. I'm being serious when I say you get to leave if you kill someone. What I didn't say right away is that you also have to get away with the murder in order to leave. Mononoko elaborated on his earlier statement. Get away with it? Hanaya-san didn't immediately understand what Mononoko meant. We've got to kill someone without getting caught doing it. Mafia spelled out what Mononoko was getting at. Exactly. After someone is murdered, we'll hold a trial to try and find the culprit. If the murderer gets away with it, then he and his Ichimatsu are freed. Mononoko explained. I should warn you, though. If the murderer gets away with it, everyone else as well as their respective Ichimatsus will be executed. So it's in everyone's best interest to try and catch the culprit. Excuse me? Monroe wanted to believe that she'd misheard Mononoko, but she had a feeling that she hadn't. Are you saying that everyone but the murderer dies if we don't catch them? That's what I'm saying, yes. Mononoko nodded. Otherwise, there'd be no motivation to catch the killer, you know? That'd be no fun. There needs to be stakes. What happens if the murderer is caught? Ao asked. If the murderer is caught, then he and his Ichimatsu are executed while everyone else is free to carry on as usual. Mononoko told him. So try not to get caught if you plan on murdering someone, okay? So either way, someone dies? That's kind of fun, actually. Mr. Shocking smirked. This might actually be pretty interesting. Interesting is not the right word for this. Kurami interjected. I refuse to engage in such a barbaric endeavor. I am a hero, the pinnacle of what is good in the world. To stoop so low and commit the ultimate atrocity is out of the question. I will not give you the satisfaction of leading me down the path of destruction. Captain denounced Mononoko's plan vehemently.
You see, I think Captain's interesting. His voice, the way he talks, changes depending, quite drastically. Because right now he's using his like hero voice, where he's just like addressing a group, and being like formal. But he talks kind of like more like a normal person. If he were to just like have a casual conversation, I think we do see it later. The only thing I don't like about this is he talks a lot like Horitsuka-san when he's using his hero voice. And I like, I prefer my characters to all be, like, very easy to differentiate in their dialogue. But I can, at least in the way that things are worded, the content of the quote usually will tip off whether Captain or Horitsuka-san said it. But, they do talk in a similar way. Captain's hero voice, and then Horitsuka-san's just normal voice. So I might make more comments on like Captain's dialogue, just because I just find his to be the most that fluctuates the most, or his to be the most inconsistent. And part of that is due to just I didn't know how I want to portray him fully, or at least the way he talks. And part of that is that he's switching between like hero voice and just casual voice. So code switching.
What he said. I'm not playing this kind of game. Kay agreed. There's no way in hell I'm killing anyone. You don't really have a choice. You can decide not to kill anyone. That's fine. The thing is, though, that other people are probably more than willing to get their hands dirty to get out of here. If you don't strike first, someone will come and pick you off before you have a chance to get out. Is that really what you want? Mononoko sneered. And, of course, if you get killed, your Ichimatsu will also die as well. So your life isn't the only one on the line, you know? This can't be real. It has to be a nightmare. Teru Kara started to tear up, terrified at the turn his day had taken. Tell me this is just a nightmare, please. I want to go home. I want to see Teru Ichi again. We've been over this. You can see him again. All you have to do is kill someone. Then you'll see him and you'll both be free to go. That's all there is to it. How many times do I have to say this? Mononoko yawned and stretched. Anyway, for the duration of this killing game, you're free to explore the school as you please, with few exceptions. Namely, if a door has a lock that you can't open, you're not allowed to force your way into the room. If you break that rule, you'll be executed on the spot. So don't try it, okay? What, so we're just supposed to live here and hope that nobody murders us? Blue furrowed his brow, trying to wrap his head around the situation. He had been quiet for some time, not knowing how to respond to what was happening.
I literally acknowledge in the narration, like, oh, we haven't heard from him in a while. He's not talking.
These earlier scenes can be a little bit cumbersome. I think they turned out fine enough. They are serviceable. It is hard to write a scene with 15 characters all talking in a conversation. That is why when I did the mental under the hood work for analyzing how each character speaks, one thing I took into consideration was how much conversational real estate they take up. In some exchanges, depending on the fic, they will be talking more than they normally do. But in general group discussions, you will find that some characters talk more than others. Everyone talks once in a great while to remind you they're there. I think it's not very often that we go a scene where someone is present but doesn't talk. It's just hard to juggle so many characters in one discussion without jumping from character to character constantly. So you'll find that some people tend to dominate the conversations while others just make remarks here and there, and just aren't the type to lead the conversation.
Precisely. There's dorms on the first floor of this building. Each of you has been assigned a room. Just look at the nameplates on the door. I expect everyone to stay in their own room at night, unless you want to sneak into someone's room to kill them. That's fine, then. Regardless, the doors open with fingerprint scanners, so all you have to do is tap your finger to the scanner and you'll be led into your room. Mononoko gave them details about their accommodations. There's no curfews or anything. You're all adults. If you wander around at night, though, you may be putting yourself in harm's way, so tread with caution.
I think it's interesting here that Mononoko says he expects everyone to stay in their own room at night, because that just doesn't happen. In this fic, nor in Blue on Blue. Definitely doesn't happen in Blue on Blue, I can tell you that. They are always staying in each other's rooms. I think that Mononoko never tries to dissuade from he originally discourages everyone staying in each other's rooms, just because more people means there's less likely to be a murder because you can't single someone out as easily. And so he wants to avoid that. After Biel's execution, when everyone kind of has their sleepovers, he doesn't intervene because a murder just happened. He's fine letting them have one night of rest before throwing them back into it. Oh, I can't stop yawning! Fuck. I need more caffeine.
And then later on, we see just here and there, or Horitsuka and Karamatu will spend time together. Will spend nights together in one of their rooms. And I think Mononoko, if it's just one or two people staying in each other's rooms, he didn't really care enough to mention it, to be honest. He was just yeah, whatever. But he does discourage it at the beginning because he doesn't want people to group up and make it harder to murder.
Wait, I still have more questions. Kay spoke up. He hoped that nobody noticed that he was starting to shake from the fear gripping him. For one thing, why are we in a school? Oh, that's not important. Mononoko dismissed his question. If you needed to know that, I'd be sure to tell you, but you don't need to know. What happens if nobody kills anyone? Monroe asked. She wanted to be optimistic that none of them would give in to the temptation, but she wasn't nearly that trusting. Then you all stay trapped here, and all of your Ichimatsus will remain trapped where I'm keeping them. Which would be pretty boring. I'm counting on the fact that some of you want to leave badly enough to kill someone over it. Mononoko shrugged. By the by, you all ought to get to know each other a little since you're going to be living together for the foreseeable future. If nothing else, it might help to get to know the enemy, you know? Try to become acquainted with your targets. It'll make it a lot easier to hunt them down later. I'll be popping in here and there to keep an eye on things. In fact, I'm always watching in case anyone is trying to cause any unsanctioned trouble. But I'll mostly stay out of the way if there's no reason for me to intervene. I'll show up to oversee the trials as they happen, though. So you're just leaving us to our own devices and waiting to see what will happen? Al looked completely disinterested in what was going on as he spoke. Exactly. So don't keep me waiting too long, okay? I'll be upset if you guys end up being super boring. I don't think it'll take too long for you all to get going, though. Mononico eyed some of the more dangerous members of the group, with his sights settling on the likes of Mr. Shocking and Beelzebub, among others. If you have any questions worth asking, holler for me and I'll show up. I've got eyes and ears on the whole place from top to bottom, so I'll know if you need me. Before anyone else could try and interrogate Mononico, he bounded off of the stage and disappeared out of the room. Nobody tried to follow him. Everyone remained frozen in place, as though they'd all forgotten how to move. It seemed that everyone was still coming to terms with the information that they'd just been given. Some were coping better than others, but the majority of them were not handling things very well. Several of the members of the group looked as though they were on the verge of a breakdown. So, what now? Karameshiu asked. At that moment, everyone looked around. This time, they weren't just looking at a bunch of strangers. They were looking at 14 potential threats, 14 ways that they could die.
I like that
Nobody
line.
could be certain of anyone's intentions now that both their lives and their lovers' lives were on the line. Even the most innocuous-looking Karamatsu could be a deadly killer if push came to shove. That was the assumption they had to run with, for their own safety. Let's think about this rationally. Karami spoke up, gathering everyone's attention. We don't actually have to kill anyone. We can look for another way out. There's no way that we're really trapped in here, you know? There has to be some way to escape. We can figure this out if we work together. Nobody has to die. Just how naive are you? Mafia clicked his tongue.
The first of many. One of Mafia's defining character ticks is that when he's annoyed or irritated, he'll do he'll click his tongue, or that kind of. He does that a lot. Other characters do it too from time to time. Just anyone who's generally disgruntled, who I think would do that. But Mafia is the one who does it the most consistently. It's a quirk that he expresses a lot, especially I think in this fic, especially he does it quite a lot.
You may not have the intent to kill anyone, but you can't assume that of everyone else for even a second. If you're that trusting, you'll wind up dead before we can do a damn thing about this situation. Looking around this room, I can clock a number of people who will probably try to kill someone within a week. I'm not naive. We really don't have to kill each other. We just need to think about this clearly. I know we're all riled up after seeing the others being held captive. Seeing a chimney like that, I hate it just as much as all of you. I want to leave just as much as all of you. But that doesn't mean we should kill anyone to do it. It'll be for the best if we work together to find some other way out of here. If I have to take someone's life to escape, then I don't want to escape. It's just not right. Karami gave her speech, speaking with a firmness and resolution that was impressive to some of the other members of the group. Those such as Carla and Hanaya-san looked to Karami with a sense of respect, wishing they could be as level-headed as her given the circumstances. Speak for yourself. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'll do whatever I have to in order to get the hell out of here. In fact, why stop at one murder? I should go all out and kill every single one of you. Mr. Shocking broke into a hearty laughter, sizing up everyone around him. Most of you would be easy to pick off, even without any of my weapons. Like you, Shrimp. I bet if I tap you on the shoulder too hard you'd shatter into pieces. And me? Teru Kara stared at Mr. Shocking with wide eyes when he was directly threatened.
I'm surprised Mr. Shocking is not swearing more. He should be swearing more. He's not swearing enough.
Yeah, you. You're clearly the runt of the litter. If I don't get rid of you, someone else will by the end of the day, I guarantee it. I may as well be the one to get you out of the way before I move on to the real competitors. Mr. Shocking scoffed. He stepped toward Teru Kara and loomed over him, smirking down at him. After all, can you really stop me? I could skin you alive in a split second and you'd be powerless. Cut it out. Karami stepped in between Teru Kara and Mr. Shocking. Instantly, Teru Kara hit behind Karami, shaking and tearing up. I've had enough of you. There's no reason to threaten everyone, you know? Just what are you trying to do here? Did I not make myself crystal fucking clear?
Ah, there we go.
I want to burn this whole building down along with everyone in it. I've killed more people than you've seen in your life. 14 more isn't even a drop in my bucket. If I have to off someone in order to get out, I'll do it to the millionth degree just to prove my goddamn point. I don't half-ass anything I do, after all. If I'm going to go for it, I'm going all in. Mr. Shocking wasn't intimidated by Karami in the slightest. He readily talked down to her, thinking she was as weak as the rest of the people he
Hold on. They should
was
send it.
antagonizing.
Okay. Sidebar. Question. Would Shocking have killed someone? Yes, actually, absolutely. He just didn't get to do it fast enough. Shocking's plan, he's not just talking here. He's serious. If he were to kill someone, he would kill all of them at once. Just to prove a point to the mastermind. Just be like, fuck your stupid game. That's a cute concept. But let's get real here. And then just kill everyone but him. He just the reason that he doesn't get to do this is because he doesn't figure out how to fast enough before he is killed. Um, if he found a way out of the building, obviously he also doesn't know what's in the building, because like his ideal situation would be like to figure out a way out of the building, find a way to get some bombs, and then blow up the building with everyone inside while he's outside, or like fill the building with poison gas or something. He just doesn't have the materials to do so, or the ability to get out of the building to make sure he doesn't die when he blows it up or fills it with poison gas or does whatever the fuck. um, you know but he's not joking here. His genuine plan was to kill everyone. That would have been very interesting though. If he'd blown up the building, if he'd found a way to demolish to blow up the building with everyone inside of it, he would unknowingly have killed all of the Ichimatsus as well, which he wouldn't care about, except for the fact that Mr. Deep would be among those people. So he would be killing Mr. Deep, and probably not be happy about that. But just in case you're ever wondering if Mr. Shotgun's blowing smoke out of his ass, or like, why didn't he kill someone if he's all talk? He was gonna, he just didn't figure it out yet. He didn't just want to kill someone and get away with it. He wanted to prove a point to the mastermind, to be like, your game is stupid. Cute concept, but stupid. And just kill everyone at once. Anyway.
I'll kill this guy just to shut him up, I swear. Mafia side. Then again, he wouldn't be worth it. HM, you got something to say, punk? Mr. Shocking turned toward Mafia and approached him. He stood up straight, trying to intimidate him. You know, I'd say you and I will be some of the last men standing. You know how it is to have a body count. I bet you won't take shit from anyone. I'll still get rid of you when it comes down to it, though, so don't get too comfortable. Cease this bickering immediately. We don't need to start an altercation. Captain tried to intervene, moving to get in between Mafia and Mr. Shocking. We should be listening to Kurami and trying to take a more productive approach to things. Arguing amongst ourselves will only serve to divide us. Out of the way. Mr. Shocking shoved Captain aside and got closer to Mafia. Don't worry, Captain. I can take him. Mafia muttered. I wouldn't recommend trying me, Mr. Shocking. It's in your best interest to back off. You may be in the Mafia, but you're no match for me. Don't go getting so cocky just because you've lived a dangerous life. You'll find that I'm your worst nightmare if you let down your guard for even a minute. Mr. Shocking reached out and put a hand on Mafia's shoulder, intending on shoving him. The next few seconds were a blur. One moment, Mr. Shocking was standing in front of Mafia. The next, there was a loud thud and Mr. Shocking was laying on the ground, flat on his back. In a move almost too fast for the human eye to perceive, Mafia had flipped Mr. Shocking and thrown him to the ground as though it were the most effortless gesture he could have possibly given. Mafia towered over Mr. Shocking, crossing his arms and narrowing his eyes. Good thing I don't let down my guard, then. Consider that a warning. Mafia hissed.
I love that moment. I just love that. Mr. Shocking getting his ass handed to him. Just so effortlessly. Really great stuff.
That's enough, you two. Kurami shouted. Everyone keep your hands to yourselves, okay? We don't need this to break out into a fight. Mr. Shocking was dazed for a moment as he stared up at the ceiling. Then, he broke into a twisted, raucous laughter as he got back up. Not bad. I have to admit, you fucked me up for a second there. See? I knew you and I would be some of the last two people in this joint. I've got to keep an eye on you. You should feel honored. Not a lot of people can make me look twice. Mr. Shocking dusted himself off as he came to a stand. If you think you can kill me, give me your best shot. I want to see you try, and don't hold back, got it? We'll see how that pans out for you, okay? You're not worth killing. Mafia rolled his eyes. Nobody is killing anyone. Kurami spoke up. If everyone can just listen to me for a minute, we can come up with a game plan. Yes, a plan will be absolutely necessary if we want to figure out a way out of here. Captain agreed. Let's avoid any unnecessary conflict. I won't hesitate to step in and defuse the situation if anyone decides to cause trouble, so let's avoid that if possible. Do you really think we can get out of here without anyone dying? Hanaya-san asked hopefully. Of course we can. Like I've already said, nobody has to die, okay? I'll make sure of it. Kurami had a steadfast determination as she spoke. She had absolute confidence in what she was saying, and it was enough to at least momentarily console some of the more timid members of the group.
My one complaint about this scene, I think, is that Hoitsuka-san should be talking more. He should be talking more. I think I didn't want him to, like, have a quip for everything, even though, like, in character he likely would. Just because people... When I first posted this fic, people that were reading it, a lot of them didn't like Hoitsuka-san. A lot of them were like, this bitch is annoying! So could you imagine if I made him even more annoying? So I guess it's for the better that he hasn't talked in a while, because when he does talk, people notice. And it annoyed some people at first, and then they grew to like him.
What do you suggest that we do, then? Monroe asked, deferring to Karami. First things first, we need to get our bearings and figure out where we are. We know we're in a school, but we need to scout out the entire building and become familiar with our surroundings. Karami quickly started to come up with a plan, pacing to stand in the middle of the group. We should split into groups of 3 or more to take a look around. We'll meet up back here in 3 hours. Nobody is allowed to go in groups of 2 or less. We shouldn't put anyone in a position where they could be taken advantage of. So you do think it's possible that someone will try to commit a murder? You wouldn't have reservations about people going in pairs if you didn't, Beelzebub remarked. I'm not stupid. I'll reiterate as many times as I need that nobody has to die, but not everyone agrees with me. It'd be foolish to not at least take some sort of precautions. Karami spoke firmly. What if I don't feel like going with a group? If I have to keep track of a mortal, it'll slow me down. Beelzebub complained. Too bad. Karami put her hands on her hips. I'm going off on my own, and none of you have the power to stop me. Beelzebub started to float toward the entrance to the gym. Instead of bothering to open the door, he phased right through it and disappeared into the school. As much as I don't want to agree with Beelzebub, I have no desire to work with any of you. I can fend for myself just fine, thank you. I'll walk toward the exit. Consider this either a warning or simply advice. Stay out of my way and I'll stay out of yours. That's all.
I think I should have emphasized more in the earlier chapters that Beelzebub phases through doors and walls regularly, because I think it only comes up once or twice, and then it's like a major clue, or like a major factor in the second trial. So I think it was perhaps to my detriment that I did not mention enough times that Beelzebub that he phases through things. Just because a lot of people forgot about that detail, just like straight up forgot about it in consideration when they were trying to figure out who the murderer was. I remember Tyr forgot. She was like, "Oh yeah, Beal can like phase through shit, can he?" So I should have made that a little more clear.
Well, we're down 2 already. That's fantastic, Kay murmured. I knew not everyone would be cooperative, unfortunately. Karami sighed. That's okay, though. If the rest of us stay in groups, we should be fine. I don't think anyone will be able to take our Beelzebub by surprise, so they should be safe on their own. The question is if we're safe with them roaming around. Hanaya-san fiddled with his apron anxiously. That's why the rest of us are going in groups. We'll be able to keep each other safer that way. Karami assured them. I normally wouldn't play along, but I want there to be witnesses if someone does try to murder me. Mafia remarked. Nobody is going to try and murder anyone. Karami assured the group. You don't know that. Galauz pointed out. I'll play along, though, if it'll help me survive longer. At least while I'm getting my bearings. You have my full cooperation, Karami. As a fellow hero, it is my sworn duty to ensure that everyone is well taken care of. With our powers combined, there is no force of evil that can stand in our way. Captain declared with a cheesy grin. Wanna bet? Mr. Shocking smirked. The rest of you can play nice all you want, but I've already made myself clear as possible. All of you are as good as dead to me. I just have to figure out how I'm going to pick each of you off, that's all. As soon as I know what the fuck to do with you, it's on. Until then, enjoy your final moments.
Yeah, so that confirms. He's just trying to figure out how to kill all of them. He's being genuine here. He is actually being honest and straightforward, which you would not expect. But he is currently scoping out his options, and that's what he's gonna be doing. You never see any of it because he's off doing fuck all. But in the time before he is murdered, he is like actively looking around, trying to find a way to kill everyone else, but it doesn't pan out for him.
When we break off into groups, can I not be paired with that guy? Kay gestured toward Mr. Shocking. Oh, make no mistake. I'm not going in any sort of group with you guys. I've got some fucking scheming to do. If you need me, piss off. I'll be busy. Mr. Shocking scoffed and headed for the door. Watch your backs, because I'll be around.
I think both Shocking and Klaus have said something to the effect of "If you need me, don't." I think they both said something like that at some point or another. I don't know if they were both in My Heart Bleeds Violet. This one obviously is. More characters might have said that. I think it's just a funny exchange, and so certain personality types of characters will say the phrase like "If you need me, don't," or something to that effect. In this case, he says, "If you need me, piss off. I'll be busy."
I would try to stop him, but I think we're actually better off without him. Karami murmured. Okay, that leaves 12 of us. We can break into 3 groups of 4 or 4 groups of 3. I suggest 4 groups of 3 so that we can cover more ground that way. Any objections? That's fine with me. Monroe nodded in agreement. Kurami, if I may call you that.
What else would you call
Haratsuka-san
her?
raised his hand as though he were asking permission to speak, though he spoke anyway. I have opinions on how we should best divide ourselves up. We must make sure each team is perfectly balanced like a drop of morning dew upon a fragile leaf. If the dewdrop is too heavy, the leaf will bend and drop it, will it not? So we must make sure that each team is light and balanced to avoid such a tragedy. I have surveyed the people in this room and am willing to provide my assessment as to who would best work together in our efforts to scout out this building. With my grand clarity, I can most assuredly guide us toward victory.
Now I wonder, because he definitely did like have his idea of how the groups should be split up. How would he have split them up? I don't know. Didn't put any thought into it. I would have to think about it if you wanted to know like how he would have split the groups up. He later goes on to say like, oh, that's exactly how I would have done it when he sees how Kurami splits everyone up. Debatable if he would have actually done it that way.
Oh, I was just going to let everyone choose their groups, actually. Kurami told him. Thank you, though. I appreciate the effort. Very well.
Or they
However,
choose their
if you
groups.
change your mind, I am more than willing to lend my aid at a moment's notice for the sake of the greater good. I will assist the group in any way that I am physically and mentally able to. Simply say the word and you have me at your service. Haratsuka-san reached out to shake Kurami's hand, which Kurami accepted. In an instant, Haratsuka-san shook Kurami's hand so vigorously that her whole arm shook. I look forward to working with you as we unravel this mystery. Like
Jushimatsu, when I write Jushimatsu, he also shakes people's hands like that. Just fun fact. When Jushimatsu shakes someone's hand, he shakes it like hard enough that their whole arm moves. Certain characters shake hands like that. Horitsuka-san is one, Jushimatsu is another. I feel like there's another character that has done that in my fix. But those are the two that I remember.
Wise, Haratsuka-san. Kurami nodded. She appreciated his spirit, though thought that he was rather intense. She glanced down and noticed that Teruteru Kara was still hiding behind her. Now, he was staring up at Haratsuka-san with a look of pure terror. Kurami couldn't help but want to comfort Teruteru Kara when he was so grief-stricken. Teruteru Kara, would you like to come with me? Can I? Is that okay? Teruteru Kara clung to Kurami's leg, shivering slightly. Yes, of course. Come with me, okay? Kurami smiled warmly. She looked around for someone else to accompany them that wouldn't utterly terrify Teruteru Kara. Her sights settled on a likely candidate. Hanaya-san, would you be willing to come with me and Teruteru Kara? Me? Oh, sure. Hanaya-san nodded and approached the two of them. Mafia, come with me. Klaus demanded. You seem like one of the more competent people in this room. Fine. Mafia shrugged, having no real objections with this arrangement. I suggest Karameishiu come with us as well. He seems like he's not terrible company to have. No, we're not bringing Karameishiu. Klaus spoke firmly, not budging on this. We're bringing Blue.
As we all know, Klaus is insistent about this because he doesn't want to be in the company of other supernatural creatures because he doesn't want them to sniff out that he is a werewolf. So this is early foreshadowing toward that for the people that didn't know that Klaus is a werewolf.
As soon as Blue heard his name, he approached Mafia and Klaus. I heard that I was requested. Blue smiled and flourished his cape in a dramatic display. Yes, you're coming with me and Mafia. Klaus nodded. Very well. It would be your pleasure to have me accompany you. Blue smiled and tipped his hat. Whatever. Let's go. Klaus motioned for them to leave the gym. You two. Monroe gestured toward Kay and Carla. Would you two gentlemen be so kind as to come with me? You want me? Carla looked surprised when he was requested. Yeah, sure. Kay nodded. Yes, I do believe you two to be the best to be around out of the remaining members of the group. Unless you would rather go with. Monroe quietly gestured toward Haratsuka-san and Captain. Yeah, I'll go with you. Carla readily agreed, not wanting to get stuck with two of the louder participants of the game.
Very funny that they're like, yeah, those two loud. Very funny. That we're right away, the group. The group has an aversion to Horitsuka-san because he's so fucking loud. But here Captain is also singled out, just because he's also loud. But the group tends to tolerate Captain more than Horitsuka-san. Just because Captain's not like as overbearing, and Captain's not always using his hero voice. Oh, there's only like a minute left of this. Okay, hold on.
Let's get going, then. I'll expect you two to protect me in the event that anything happens. You two wouldn't leave a lady to die, would you? Monroe batted her eyelashes sweetly. We'll see. Kay shrugged. At the very least, I won't be the one to try and kill you. That's about the best I can ask for, isn't it? Monroe gave a dry laugh. Haratsuka-san, Captain, and Karameshi looked at each other. I see that it's come down to the three of us. Well, then, would you two come patrol the perimeter with me? Captain motioned for the two of them to follow him. Sure, I suppose I don't mind doing that. Karameshi nodded. He was ready to go with whatever was suggested of him, having no real sense of urgency on the matter. But of course, this is exactly the arrangement I was hoping to find myself in. The three of us are the shining stars of the group, like the trio of Orion's belt in the night sky. We hold together the greater constellation with our glimmering light, and together we'll be a beacon of hope like no other. Haratsuka-san announced proudly. It was unclear if he actually had intended on teaming up with Captain and Karameshi, or if he was simply saying as such.
I think that he was not planning on teaming up with them, or like that wasn't his original plan. He's not upset to be with them, but one of these days I'll think about how would 46 have split it up and what would have been his logic.
With everyone divided up into groups, they all set out to start exploring the school. The killing game had officially commenced.
Alright, that is chapter 1. God, that took like an hour. It's been over an hour, actually. Hour and 6 minutes. Yeah. So that's my commentary on the first chapter. I'll do more of these. I was sober for this one. I might not always be sober. But that was fun. That was fun giving my thoughts, because I don't think I've ever done this where I like go through and like give a commentary track on something. I'll definitely be uploading this to YouTube, but I don't know if I'm going to keep it private or not, so we'll see. We'll see. And then there'll be more. There'll be more.